I am Desiree L. Malines, and my topic is all about the summative evaluation up to the number 10 of measuring attitudes. Summative evaluation. Summative evaluation means to assess the learner's achievement of the teaching process. For instance, at the end of a chapter, summative evaluation measures the learner's attainment of the specific objectives at the end of a given period of time. So, summative evaluation is to evaluate student learning at the end of an instructional unit by comparing it against some standard or benchmark. So, when we say summative evaluation is when you complete your task. For example, in chapter 1, you have lesson 1, lesson 2, lesson 3. In the lesson 1, you discuss it to your student, and after discussing it, you give quizzes. And lesson 2 also, you give another quizzes, and lesson 3, another quizzes. So, the summative of that is when you combine all the lessons from lesson 1 up to lesson 3 in chapter 1 only that is what we call summative evaluation test. So, uses of summative evaluation. There are many uses of summative evaluation, but 3 uses are most perhaps and useful to classroom teachers. These are to assign grades, number 2, provide feedbacks to students, and 3, compare outcomes of different groups. So, number 1, assign grades. The result of summative tests are rated either by the letter or numerical grade on the basis of standard set of mastery. This standard indicates the specific skills that a learner must attain and the behavior we must exhibit. So, for example of assigned grades, teachers will assign grades based on the performance of the students that they perform or they show to you, which is good or not that good, and the result of that will be back to them, and the result of that will be assigned, which is their grades. So, number 2, provide feedbacks to students. The grades assigned the result of summative evaluation gives little information about the student's performance. However, if summative test is carefully constructed with fairly well scattered items on the test, and if multiple scores are given on behavioral categories, then the students receive more feedback on his performance, especially if sufficient items in each category are reliable. So, number 2, students will actually understand well about the result of summative and little information of the performance that they had, especially if the sufficient items in each category are reliable. So that means students have their own knowledge and information or understanding if how come, and students will be actually starting to have their feedbacks and thoughts, inquiry about the information that they have read. Number 3, compare outcomes of different groups. The outcomes of different approaches and strategies, different teaching aids and devices, and different types of students are compared. So, for example of this number 3 is when you ask your student to draw a map concept in the classroom and group themselves into 4, and this will result the outcomes of different groups. If that groups is a high IQ or have knowledge, or this group has lack of knowledge, so with that groups, students will be compared based on the different approaches, strategies of teaching. Characteristics of summative evaluation. Number 1. Summative evaluation is a kind of evaluation that is administered after completion of learning task at the end of a unit or chapter. So, summative evaluation is a kind of evaluation, as I said earlier. If in chapter 1, you have a lesson 1, lesson 2, lesson 3, and lesson 1, you discuss it and give quizzes to the students, and lesson 2, also you give quizzes, and lesson 3, you give quizzes also. So, the summative of that, you combine all the lesson from 1 to 3, and the result of that combination will be called summative test. And summative tests are useful only in every end of semester or chapter, unit, or exams. Number 2. Summative evaluation aims to assess the students' achievements at the end of every unit, chapter, quarter, semester, departmental, or academic year. National Achievement Test or NAT is an example of summative evaluation. So, one of the example of summative test is National Achievement Test or NAT. So, because they will test the student if they have knowledge from the past grade 1 to 6, and they will determine if the student has high knowledge or high IQ, high quality or learning lesson from grade 1 to 6, because inside the NAT or National Achievement Test are the lesson from grade 1 to 6 are included in NAT. So if you answer all the questions inside the NAT questionnaire, it means you will be able to proceed to the next level. Next is it provides overall decision of a curriculum whether to revise or phase out. It determines the accountability for success or failure of the programs. So for example, if this is in KAE, and in KAE will determine your profession, which means or test your skills or your specific course or your specific profession skills that you want to choose. So with that, it will test if you have knowledge or stock knowledge from your past grades, or grades 1 to 6 or grade 7 to 8, if you have knowledge about the lessons and base of the course that you want to proceed, you will be able to proceed to another next level. So next is grades are assigned in summative evaluation, hence it provides feedback to students' performance. So for example, if this is teacher is assigned to give grades based on the performance of the students that they show to you. So the feedback of their performance will be the result of their grades. If the students are if the performance of the students are good enough, so the result of their grades will be good. If the students lack of performance, then the result also will be their grades or their feedback result. Next is summative evaluation compares performance of different schools, students, province, regions, as well as in the national level. For instance, National Achievement Test. One of the examples of summative evaluation is National Achievement Test or NAT. So with this, it will have a comparison in different schools because it will determine the students or the students have a productive or knowledgeable enough to answer the NAT questionnaire, and the result of the student will be also the result of the school. With that result, the school will be promoted or will be accredited to another level. Next is it also compares the different teaching approaches, strategies, and techniques in different schools. So in this case, we will determine during the NAT class of the student if the teacher's teaching strategies or teaching techniques are effective when the result of the students are good. So if they saw the potential of the teachers will be promoted into teacher 1, teacher 2, or teacher 3. So, the meaning of this Summative portfolio is like a research problem of the teacher that determines if how much is the percentage that they got during the NAT exam of the students. All of the information will put on their portfolio because this will be served as their basis. So, for example, they determine if the school got high record or excellence. It means the school itself had a teaching strategy or had a teaching techniques. Because the performance of the students will affect the performance of the teachers. Of course, the performance of the teachers will also affect the performance of the school or the principal up to the high position of the said department. So all of the information or happenings in the school will be put on the portfolio so that this will be served as an assessment or qualification if that teacher is being effective to the students. So next is distinction between formative and summative evaluation. The distinction between formative and summative evaluation are as follows. Objectives. Formative evaluation determines the progress at the day's instruction. Summative evaluation determines the purpose at the end of a unit, chapter, quarter, or semester. So the distinction of formative and summative evaluation are formative evaluation is given throughout the learning process. So the main objectives of the formative evaluation are to measure students' progress through learning objectives or course topics and provide feedback to students. So formative assessment can be used to inform, adjust, and focus teaching in the classroom, while the summative evaluation is given at the end of the semester or the end of a specific topic. So the main objective is to record the level of knowledge about the given topic or topics after they have received adequate instructions. Summative assessment can be used to inform to students promotion or readiness for topic advancement. Next is administration. Formative evaluation is administered at the end of the day's instruction. Summative evaluation is administered at the unit, chapter, quarter, or semester. The role of administrator is to increase the student achievement and motivation, and the administrator's role is to help teachers create and implement effective formative assessment in their lessons. It is targeted to school administrators and school board members. At the end of the course, administrators earn a certificate of completion of PD and ELA credit, while the summative evaluation aims to evaluate what students know, can do, and can articulate at a given point in time. So this evaluation is reportedly verbally or in writing to others. So summative assessment is more reliable and valid when evidence of learning is collected from multiple sources over time and when the evidence is examined in light of quality expectation or achievements indicators. So next is strategies. Formative evaluation use observation and quizzes as strategies. Summative evaluation use unit test, chapter test, departmental test, quarter test, and portfolio as strategies. To implement strategies, distinction between formative and summative evaluation are, for example, in formative evaluation, you give